Hey guys, welcome. I'm just waiting for everybody to get logged in. So get yourselves comfy. We'll be starting at 12. Yeah, sorry guys, I was on mute, but just waiting for everyone to jump on in. So it's 12. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let me also just show my video because I'm kind of getting notifications and people are joining right now. So sorry about that. Okay, cool. Welcome everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We have so far 24 people, 21 people, 22 now that are signed in. Cool. As a reminder, this session will be recorded. Just keep that in mind. Um, Class norms. So you want to make sure that active listening, again, that means probably actively listening in the chat. Also one mic. So be kind if someone else is sharing an idea. Again, be kind. That includes both in the chat and when you're verbally participating. So in the chat, please be nice, be respectful, whatever. Respect different ideas. And I mostly highlighted to participate. If you all noticed, I've been entering in finally the scores for our Zoom meetings. So that means be active and be participating. Again, it should be very straightforward to participate. There's no wrong answers or anything like that. And again, be present. That means try to not be distracted. And I know that could be hard, with our different home situations and things like that. So just some norms. Another thing is, again, we're mostly going to be using the chat, right, to share ideas or ask questions. You could also, if you find this reactions button, provide feedback, raise hand if you really, really want to contribute to math, like a math question or something. And again, if your mic is on, make sure you turn it off if someone else is talking, and try to refrain from multitasking. So those are just some basic online norms. Let's quickly get through the agenda because I want to jump into talking about our artifact. So we're gonna have a quick check-in question. We're going to be looking a little bit at our work. I got some screenshots of your work, giving some feedback on that. Hopefully, we'll start on some instantaneous rate of change calculation in our artifact because I want to get a start in that because I know and I feel like that's going to have a lot of questions. And then today, our assignment is going to be to turn in the artifact by midnight. So today by midnight, and why we need it actually today by midnight is because tomorrow I'm going to wake up like 6 a.m. and I'm going to group you into groups of threes so that you guys can give each other feedback on the artifact. So again, you shouldn't be scared to turn in your work because you're going to give each other feedback, and from there you're going to improve your work. So that's the goal, and that's how the outline is going to look. So let's see if anyone has any questions on that. Okay. So first off, you should always be looking at our virtual calendar. Again, here's where we're at. Let me go back. We're on Tuesday. If you notice in the week, our lessons are done on Wednesday. So Thursday and Friday, you don't have to really worry about pre-calculus as long as you got your Monday through Wednesday done. So that's just that portion. And let me know if anyone has any questions. And again, tomorrow, you want to make sure that you submit your artifact by tonight so that you could give each other feedback. So I still have to create this. Like I said, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow to make sure I group everybody. Okay, cool. So let's do our quick check-in question, everybody. What is your most used emoji during the quarantine? So you could like try to put the emoji on there. Or you could try to just type out what is your most commonly used emoji during this quarantine time. I could go ahead and just verbally share mine. Okay, Tanya has her emojis down there. Nayeli has that peace one. There's the shrug by Tony. All of these. Leisha is the kiss, dead. Oh, I can't see Anaya. Well, that's a question mark, I see. And then Diana's a kiss, laughing. Yeah, Edgar, I'm with you. I think my most used one is that laughing face. I keep looking at really funny stuff and just laughing a lot. Especially on those TikTok videos I've been seeing. Some of you I see question marks, so I can't see. Yeah, I don't know how to do the emojis on here either. Yeah, follow me on the. I made a TikTok. It's just Yesenia Sedano. I'm very easy to find. Okay, awesome. Look at this clown emoji. Okay, cool. Thank you all for sharing. The yawning emoji, yeah. I think all of us know that one for sure during this time. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and move on to basically the summative, which is going to be the artifact. It's called the summative because it's summarizing all the stuff from chapter 7 and putting it together into the artifact so that you apply your knowledge. Now, you want to have the summative open right now, or kind of like if you're on a laptop, you want to have it open. Um, you want to have it open, but if you don't, I'm going to go ahead and put it into the chat so that you can open it if you haven't yet. Let me just quickly grab that to share. It's loading, so bear with me. Oh, some of you are already on the document, so that's good. So I just put the link to the artifact. So make sure that we're being respectful, guys, in the chat. Again, this is if you want your full credit, make sure that you're being respectful to keep it on task right now. Feel free to talk, but just make sure that we're respectful. Yes, Stephen, you'll get your credit as long as you follow our directions. But anyways, you should have this summative task open. Now, what we're gonna first do right now is everyone's just gonna scan the artifact. Right now I'm projecting it, so you should all be looking at it. In a second, I'm gonna have us all participate on this first question, which is saying, what big ideas from chapter 7 research packet do you anticipate using for this task? So in a second, not right now, we're gonna all put into the chat what big ideas you think um, is gonna happen in this artifact. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and scroll through the artifact. So for those who didn't get a chance to look at it, can look at it right now. So if you didn't do the assignment yesterday, you have an opportunity to do it today. And again, make sure that y'all, you could also privately tell me, like if you're using a different name, for example, Guero or Güero, I don't know who you are. So if you want your credit, make sure you let me know. So we're just right now scanning the summative or the artifact. Because right now in a second, I'm gonna ask you all to participate and to write down what big ideas do you think we're gonna be using from the artifact. By the way, everybody, at the end of your artifact, I linked up skills that you should know to do, before, or if you forgot how to do it on the artifact. It looks like Angel, you already got to start on the question. So for sure, I'm going to bring that up. But right now, let's go ahead and pause. Okay, you guys are talking about the assignment. Cool. So by the way, use this if you forgot how to do something. Use the little links I put in for you because I want to make sure that everybody has access for how to do the assignment itself. Okay. So guys, now that I kind of scrolled through the assignment, see, like I'm gonna ask you some questions about this. We're just scrolling through, skimming it. We're not really doing it, right? Some of you did get a start on it, and that's great. But one of the first questions is telling you to look through the chapter 7 resource packet and to write down what big ideas do you think we're going to be using and why. Don't forget the and why, because a lot of times there's a two-part question and a lot of people forget the and why. And a huge part of this artifact is to justify your answers. So you got to actually explain the whys to it. So that's why I'm kind of highlighting that. So let's jump into that. Let's jump into the participation right now. All right, so now that we kind of looked at it together, Angel already went into the chat and he put what he thinks a big idea is going to come up in the artifact. He put instantaneous rate of change, IROC. Raven put calculating the average rate of change or instantaneous rate of change and graphing the limit. So Raven thinks we're going to do those three things. Juan thinks we're going to do average rate of change, And because it talks about average rate of change throughout the fall of the rock, awesome. Bella says limits, that you're expecting to use the big idea of limits. Edgar also thinks we're going to be using that big idea of limits. Great. Make sure that everyone's putting their ideas down because, again, this is the first question in your artifact. If we're all like putting in what big ideas we think we're going to use, we'll all have a way to start this artifact. So, limits, Hakeem says average rate of change, instantaneous. Good. Average rate of change, limits, those are all coming up again. What are the big ideas is what Victoria asked. So the big ideas is in the chapter 7 resource packet. It's the thing you guys all annotated and gave each other feedback on. I believe it was last week. It's linked in the artifact itself, so you could click and look at what the big ideas are for that, Victoria. So basically all the big ideas of what we've been discussing, like average rate of change, instantaneous rate of change, limits, things like that is in that packet. Great. So Wendy's saying limits, instantaneous rate of change. Viviana says average rate of change. Awesome. So you all are kind of coming into this average rate of change, instantaneous rate of change idea and limits. Those are all correct. Everything you guys are writing. But I want to say this. Make sure that when you answer this question in the when you answer this question for your artifact, you got to answer the and why. Why are you saying instantaneous rate of change? Why are you saying? I know, I think if we scroll up, I think Juan put because, and he was analyzing why did he say average rate of change. So make sure that you have your because when you answer the first part of the artifact question. So that's just some feedback. So we should all kind of have a lean way into answering number 1. Okay, cool. So before we jump into talking about how to do the instantaneous rate of change calculation, I wanted to jump back and give you all some feedback. And I think this was last Wednesday's assignment, April 19th. I want to talk about what I'm looking for in the artifact as opposed to what I'm not looking for. So for example, what your work needs to look like. What does showing work need to look like? So there was a handful of responses in that assignment that looked like this. And this is a screenshot of someone's work. I took it at random, but a lot of you actually did this, where there was just like kind of like a few steps. And in this assignment, I kind of like I put screenshots of the steps that you had to do, and there was like about 5 to 6 steps. So in your work, you should be showing 5 to 6 steps, because that's how the exemplars look like. And I also put in a video for that assignment right here that showed you all how to show your work. So for example, what does my work look like? So for this assignment, I got 2 exemplars right here. And I think this one right here, I think is credit to Stormy. This is, take a look at how it's showing step by step, the scratch work, and also the steps of how she's simplifying the limit. So that's what you want to show your work as a clarification. Now there's another student, I think that this one's credit to Shannon. This is how he showed his work. His side work looks like he put it right on top of his steps. And then below that, he showed its steps. So notice, like, either if you're typing out your work or if you're submitting a picture of your work, notice how both of these exemplars are clearly showing the steps and showing how they got the answer. Hold on a second. Let me add a few people trying to join. So notice, so why I'm showing this is because number 1, on the left-hand side, you can't get this artifact proficient if your work looks like this. You want to strive to showing all the steps of your work, and you could still get like developing and things like that as long as you showing the work, even if it's not correct, right? You're showing me that you're trying the steps is what you're trying to show me, right? Not particularly that you know, like, oh, I got the correct answer. I'm looking for, did you look at my resources? Did you look at the examples? Are you showing the steps and are you trying to the best of your ability is what I'm looking for this one. Lastly, another reason why you want to show all your work for this artifact is because you guys are going to be giving feedback to each other. It's not just for me to understand your work, it's also to make your work understandable to your peers, because your peers are going to be looking at your work and giving you feedback. So you want to make sure your steps and your reasons are clear. So that's just some feedback. Does anyone have any questions on that part? You can go ahead and type it into the chat. All right. If no one has any questions, es que no se puede respirar. Es que no se puede respirar. You can't breathe. I hope you could breathe. I don't know what you mean. Wrong chat. Oh, okay. Anyway, so those of you who mentioned the big ideas that we're going to be using for this artifact were basically very much right. In this artifact, we will be utilizing average rate of change. And if y'all remember from the past video, average rate of change was a slope between 2 points. That's the slope of the secant line. And we're also going to be looking at instantaneous rate of change, which tells you the instant rate of change that an object is moving at, like an instant velocity or things like that. Okay, so now that we know what we're going to use, a little quick reminder again, tomorrow you're going to be grouped to give each other feedback on your artifact. So please submit that tonight by 11:59, because if you don't submit it, you won't be getting any feedback to improve your work. And it all relies on the feedback that you get. So just as a reminder, the artifact is due tonight. And it's due as in your best attempt. Don't be like, oh, do I need to get proficient? No, you're submitting your best attempt is what I'm looking for, because you're going to expect to revise it based on the peer feedback. So don't be like worried about that. So sorry. So now what we're going to do is take a look at your summative task. I know a lot of you are on there already, but I'm projecting it right now. If you go down all the way to problem 4B, that's the one I kind of want to set up today. 4B, when it says, what is the instantaneous rate of change of the boulder's height at t equals 1.392 seconds? I kind of want to get that started today so that we have some work on that problem, because actually that's the one that I want some steps on. Let me just check this out. Okay, cool. Sorry. Okay, so here's and let me know if you guys can see this, because this is what I'm going to try to project. This part. Are you all able to see the PowerPoint that I'm projecting right now? If I could get a yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, guys. Okay, great. So we're going to try to get started on that problem that I just mentioned, and then you'll have a head start on that. So what is the instantaneous rate of change of the boulder's height, specifically at one point in time, at 1.392 seconds? Step 1. It's asking me instantaneous rate of change. That means I know there's a formula for that, and it's in my big ideas packet. It's been reoccurring over and over. So step 1 is write down your formula, right? Step 1 is you should be writing down the formulas that you need to solve the problem. And again, I knew to use this formula because it's saying, what is the instantaneous rate of change? And this is the instantaneous rate of change formula. So step 1. Step 2. The next thing I need, right, to solve this problem is my function. Down here on my screen, I kind of popped up the function problem. It actually starts in number 2, question number 2. It talks about the boulder falling, and it gives me this function right here. Let me circle it. That is my function. So step 1 is identify what's, step 2 is identify what is my function. Hold on, let me add some participants trying to join. Sorry, I have someone in the waiting room that I'm not sure who it is, so I'm just messaging them. Okay. Cool, so we've identified our functions. Let me just X this out. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start to do my side work. So here's the problem, guys. Notice how my function should be f of x, and over here it's h of t, right? Well, with function, it doesn't matter if I use f, h, or if I use t or x. I could just change this function to be an f of x function. For example, let me show you. So what I mean by that is my side work, this is my side work. Instead, I could write f of x equals negative 16x squared plus 124. Notice that all I did is I changed the h to f and I changed the t to x. So let me just pause there, make sure everyone understands what I did and the why. That's how I rewrote my function. If anyone has any questions on that scratch work. Okay, I don't see any questions on it. Okay, great. So then the next thing I want, see how I wrote down what f of x is because it's in my formula, so I need to know what f of x is. The next thing I need to know is what is f of x plus h for this problem. So I'm going to go back to my side work and I'm going to write f of x plus h. So notice that in order to find out what f of x plus h is, notice this x right here, what I replaced it with was x plus h. Everything else stayed the same. So let me just pause here and see, does everyone agree with that substitution that I made? When I substituted x plus h, okay, great. All right, everyone. So does anyone remember what do I have to do when I have x plus h squared? There's a method. There's a method. Does anyone remember it's two methods. Either you do one thing or the other thing to multiply out x plus h squared. Write it twice. Yeah, Hakeem, that's the first thing is to write it twice. Distribute says Edgar. Wendy says the FOIL or box method. Raven says rainbow method, box method. Great. Yes, that is correct. So first off, yes, write it out twice. We're going to use either FOIL or box method. And that's another way to say distribute, whoever said that. Perfect. Yes. So notice how you guys are correct. So in the bottom here, I kind of popped out. So this is the part that Hakeem said. X plus h squared, that's what he meant by write it out twice. It means this. So if it means this, you have to either use the rainbow method like this, or you could use the box method like this. Either way, you're going to get your answer as x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. See, both of these give you the same answer. And again, for box method, a quick review is you would just do x times h, xh, h times h squared, x times x squared, and then x times h is xh. Usually you add the diagonals together, and that's where the 2xh comes from. So again, that's where that came from. Great. So good. So we're going to go ahead and take what we got from the box method, and I'm going to replace it with the stuff that's inside the parentheses right now. So what I'm doing right now is I'm still working on the second part, and I'm still trying to simplify it. So notice how the x plus h in purple changed to the x squared plus 2xh plus h squared from what we got in the box method. So that's my next step that I did to simplify. All right, now I'm on this step. Let's see if anyone knows. What should be the next thing I do now to simplify this expression? What should be the next thing I do? Let's see if anyone knows. What should I do next? Right here. Okay, Abel says, okay, let me start from the beginning. So Hakeem says, do the parentheses. Abel says, combine like terms. James says, combine like terms, combine like terms. Wendy is very descriptive. She says, would it be to distribute the negative 16? Tanya agrees. Jasmine says, distribute the negative 16. Edgar says, combine like terms, distribute, combine like terms, multiply the negative 16 in. Raven says, and distribute, Diana and Darian. So great. So first off, in order to combine, like you guys are both right, but the very, very first step before we combine like terms, like many of you mentioned, is to distribute the negative 16. So we do kind of have to get this in here before we do combine like terms. So in effect, we're kind of right if you both said, you know, distribute or combine like terms. But let's go ahead and do what a lot of you suggested, which is distribute the negative 16. So let's distribute. So I have negative 16x squared, negative 16 times 2, negative 32, and don't forget to bring the xh, negative 16 times h squared, negative 16h squared, and then don't forget to bring down plus 124. So now I look, does any of these have any like terms? I personally don't see any. If you see one, let me know that we could kind of combine. Usually sometimes we can combine like terms here, but so far I don't see anything that can add. Because this has x squared, this has xh, h squared, that's different, and this is just a constant, doesn't have anything after it. Okay, so it looks like we're done with the f of x plus h. So we have f of x right here in green, and I have f of x plus h right here in blue. So if you're in this Zoom meeting, we're kind of doing a large amount of the work for part B in this problem, and this is kind of the more involved as an algebraic problem. So what I'm going to do next is use substitute. So notice how in green I plugged in the green part, the one that was right here. That was f of x. And the f of x plus h in blue, I just substituted what we just did right here. So that went here, and this green part went over here. Let me just pause to see if anyone has any question on the substitution I just did. Any questions on the substitutions? Okay. Now let's see in the chat. What should I do next? Jasmine says distribute the negative sign. I like that. If I distribute that negative sign, that means I could get rid of the parentheses or the little brackets I have to organize my work. Let's do that. I agree. Boom. Notice that when, good, and Nayeli agrees. Notice when I distributed that negative sign, so negative times negative, that became positive, see, plus 16x squared. Negative times the positive 124 became negative 124. So that's all I did in this step right here. Oops. Sorry, guys, let me go back. We're right here. And then Faith says, do you always have to distribute the negative sign, right? Yeah, usually. Yeah, Faith, usually you will have to for these. And then Brooke, let me know what you want me to repeat or slow down on. I'm happy to do that. We're almost going to be ending the thing. That's why I kind of wanted us to get a quick start on doing this problem because we haven't finished it yet. We just started it. Maybe we could talk about the last and final suggestion because I do have my AP class to do next and I don't want you guys to be late for your next class. So Jasmine says the next step is to combine like terms. All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and combine like terms. Ricardo agrees. What are some things we could kind of get rid of first? Because I noticed some things look the same. What can I kind of just cancel out from here and make my work easier? So the negative 16 squared is what Jasmine says. This part cancels out with this part. See? Negative 16x squared plus 16x squared, that's 0. Hakeem says the 124 part. 124 positive minus 124, that does go away, right? So I don't have a little marker to kind of cross this out, but notice that this cancels out and the 16x squared canceled out with the negative 16x squared. Great, you guys are seeing those numbers. So this is what your next step should look like, everybody. This gets left over and this part gets left over. The rest got canceled out. Notice how it's looking nicer. All right, y'all, it looks like we're in our last minute, so I kind of got to transition into my AP Calculus. So we got to start on problem 4B. Now your job is you're going to go ahead and finish it. Again, this is due at 11:59 p.m. tonight. Make sure that you turn it in. Again, tomorrow I'm going to group you up to give each other feedback. So again, don't be like stressed. You want to just try your best, turn in whatever you have so that you could give each other feedback. Again, I'll be up at 6 a.m. tomorrow so that I could do the grouping. So again, turn it in by midnight. I'll even accept it by 3 a.m. if you get it in before I start grouping everybody, okay? All right, y'all. Have a, yes, look at that.